Hello, hello, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
morning,
How are
Geraghty.
you?
Morning. Want to make sure everybody can hear. The jump
It's
from
working. It's working great, Mike. Good morning.
And you should have the controls so you could share your screen.
Okay. Let me find- All right, you should be able to see that. You should be able to hear me and see me. Not that that's a great thing.
Yes, we can. There's about 60 people that are registered, so I'll be letting people in for a little bit more.
I serve a lot of coffee. Christina, you can just tell me when to start.
I shall. We're up to 30 people, so if we give it another couple minutes,
Yep,
I'd say maybe 5 after.
yep, you got it.
Christine, I think we can get going, right? 5 after?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
I'll let the rest of them in as they come through.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this morning for this month's Coffee with NJGMIS. We have a guest of honor. This month we have New Jersey CISO Director Michael Geraghty for a Q&A about the state and local cybersecurity grant program. And we'd just like to thank Director Geraghty for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us this morning to answer any questions that we might have about the cybersecurity grant. So Director Geraghty, the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. And you make it sound so formal and I'm so important, and I'm not. In fact, I'll take the garbage out tonight and do the dishes, after dinner and all those other things. Just, So yeah, I'm Mike Geraghty. I'm the director of the NJKIC. I'm the state CISO and currently the acting deputy director for the Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. I want to thank Lee and the team from NJGMIS for inviting me this morning. As some of you know, we recently launched the state and local cyber grant program. The application window is open now for fiscal year 22, our grant allocation. And so I'm going to go through some slides and let's keep this informal. It is coffee with NJGMIS, and so it's not me talking at you, it's me talking with you. So as we go through this, I'll give you some background. I know a number of the folks from GMIS have been on our planning committee and helped develop this program. But just for some background, this is based on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that was signed into law by President Biden back in November 21. And essentially, there's a state and local cybersecurity grant program. And if you read the headlines, it says $1 billion for state and local cybersecurity grants. And that's over a 4-year period. And that's for all 50 states and the territories and all the municipalities. And so when you divide that up, it's not all that much. Just like any other grant program, non-disaster grant program that's run by DHS, it's administered by my office, the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. And since this is a cyber grant, it's being run through us. Our goal and the goal of the entire grant at the federal level is to improve cybersecurity posture of state, local, and territorial government organizations, and by providing that assistance for reducing systemic risk. In the notice of funding opportunity that was released by DHS last September, there's 4 objectives that we have to meet. We had to put together a strategic plan. That strategic plan had to be approved by DHS, CISA, and FEMA. And we also had to submit certain projects that we were going to use the funds that are allocated to New Jersey for. So those objectives in the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, is, one is governance structures. Do you have somebody responsible for cybersecurity? Do you have policies? Do you have an incident response plan? All those different types of things when we talk about governance. Objective 2 is really risk management, risk identification, assessment, and then being able to remediate risk and reduce it through that understanding of what risk we have and how to assess and prioritize the remediations. The objective 3 is where we implement security protections. So first, we've got to figure out what those risks are, and second is understanding and implementing tools, technologies, processes, people, all those different things in order to reduce the risk. And then the fourth is workforce development, if you will. Make sure that state, local government organizations have personnel that have the requisite training to be able to manage cybersecurity risk in their environment, okay? Commensurate with their responsibility. So we're talking about an end user that's, basically cybersecurity awareness training, don't click on links, those types of things. But when we talk about IT directors or IT staff, it's a bit different. Knowing how to implement, Azure or, cloud systems, all those different things that are helpful in reducing or just managing risk within an organization. So with the grant, this is the funding that we get for federal fiscal year 22, which we're in currently. Federal fiscal years run, through September 30th. October 1st will be the next fiscal year 23. So this year, we are getting $3.379 million. The NOFO and the legislation requires the state to also match 10% of that. So we add 337,000 or 338,000, whatever it is. So the total amount that we have to spend in, for federal fiscal year 22 is 3.7 million essentially. Next year it goes up significantly, but so does the required state match. And then in fiscal 24, 25, and eventually, the grant ends after 25. So all told, we get about $17 million, but we're required to kick in or match up to $4 million. Of the grant totals, 80% has to be designated to go to locals. And then 25% of the total has to go to rural communities, those with populations 50,000 and under. So our goal here at the state is to push out as much of this, more than 80%, to local governments, because we know just by all the different reports that we see coming in and all the incidents that are happening, that you guys need help. And we have a pretty good budget here in state government, but we know that others don't. In fact, I was just looking at one application where the organization, tens of millions of dollars for the organization, and it has a $2,000 budget for cybersecurity. So we want to figure out, how do we make the best use of this money? $17 million over 4 years is not a whole heck of a lot. I've often joked, and others have heard me say that, we have 500,000 state and local government employees in New Jersey. If we would divide these dollars up equally, we could buy each a coffee mug that says, "Don't click on links." And that's about all we could get out of it. So that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is be able to figure out, how to use it the best. We put together a planning committee. And obviously I'm part of that. I'm the chair of it. The chief technology officer, Chris Ryan, is the co-chair. We have other members of the NJKIC on the planning committee, but we also, reached into the different counties, the municipalities. As I said, there's a number of GMIS folks that are part and parcel of this. We wanted different perspectives from the rural areas to the urban areas, and what are the issues and how do we best put together a plan? And as a result, we did that. Our plan, you can find it on our website and read through it. We have 5 strategic goals, that basically the same as what are those objectives in the NOFO, except the 5th one is collaboration and partnerships. And that means that we want to share information amongst one another and have this concept of a collective defense where we all work together, not only to share information, but to respond to threats in real time as best as we can, because individually, none of us have the resources to defend against nation state actors, transnational cybercrime groups, and the like. But working together, we have a better chance of at least making ourselves more resilient, rather than silos and pockets of haves and have-nots. So that was put together. We also submitted 4 projects that were approved. They fall into 4 different buckets: governance and planning, risk management. Those top 2, there's not much in the way of money for those, and it's not going to cost any money. So most of the money that we'll spend is on the resilience part, and then workforce development. So as I go through there, governance and planning, as I said, it's standards, policies, guidelines, incident response plans, tabletop exercises, and something that I'll talk about in a second called trust in government. So far, we've received 42 applications. 100% of the respondents have said they would like help developing policies. So we started developing templates a while ago, and we'll put those out. But there's really no cost associated with that. That's just writing templates. And we've aligned them with CIS Top 18. We aligned them with the NIST framework and stuff like that. It's the same thing. 90% of the organizations are looking for tabletop exercises. So those were kind of surprising to me that, 100% would want policies and then, 90% with tabletop exercises. Obviously, that's not being done, especially in the smaller government organizations. That trust in government, the .gov top level domain, there's a lot of organizations in government, that have a .org, a .com, a .net. And really anybody can, register those domains, whether you're, a fraudster or you're a government organization, and the public doesn't know the difference. What we want people to do is have trust in government, because the only ones that can register .gov TLD are government organizations that are verified. The .gov top level domain is now managed by CISA. And it's free, and really that trust in government, knowing that when you go to a website and you're conducting business with your government organization, it's a legitimate government organization. Risk management: identify, assess, prioritize, remediate, all those things that go into it. I mentioned the policy templates. We've already started writing these. This group of policies, I started writing, and it aligns with the CIS top 20. So, we like to say that everybody should be using a framework that reasonably conforms to an industry standard. Whether it's the CIS top 18 or it's the NIST CSF or it's ISO 27001. So we wrote these so that you would have a set of policies that would conform reasonably, in this case, to CIS. Just having policies doesn't mean that you're protected. Obviously, you have to follow the policies and enact them and those types of things. But these will be available. As I said, it doesn't cost money to write policies. It just, takes some time and effort. And we've been doing that for quite some time here in the NJKIC. So these will be available for anybody, whether you're an applicant or, just any organization that wanted to download them from our website. They're free. We don't have any copyright on these, edit them to your heart's delight and implement them as necessary within your organizations. I mentioned .gov TLD. We had a pandemic not too long ago. And during that pandemic, we saw all sorts of fraud. And we see all sorts of websites that are created, as a result of, fraudsters that want to take money from the government. The government's great at giving away funds. It's really bad at protecting funds that they give away. So here are some, websites that we found. There were over 700 of these that were created during the pandemic, whether it was the Motor Vehicle Commission or Department of Labor or other states. You can see that they don't have a .gov TLD. And if I'm a citizen or, just a constituent, I want to make sure that I'm doing business with the right people and I'm inputting my personal information into a trusted organization. If you use a .com, .SI, .online or whatever, those are not really trusted. So we want to make sure that, we have a trusted top level domain. All right. Risk management, real simple. We put together what's called the Cybersecurity Program Controls Assessment. We did this a few years ago as a result of something called the Water Quality Accountability Act. And that legislation requires public water systems with 500 customers or more to submit their cybersecurity plans to the NJKIC. And so we put together a cybersecurity program control assessment, covers 15 different control categories, and then 71 control objectives, if you will. It's pretty simple. It's a baseline assessment. This is not a maturity assessment. We got to start somewhere. Let's get something, a baseline, and then we can mature and improve from there. So with this, you basically, it's a yes or no. Do you have an incident response plan? If yes, yes, great. If no, no. Do your personnel know who to report incidents to? Yes, no. Those types of things. And we've got it broken down by those control categories. As I said, program management is one. Do you have policies and standards? Do they conform to an industry standard framework? Is somebody responsible for cybersecurity within your organization? all those different things. You go through this, it takes just a few minutes to complete if you know your organization. Do you have an acceptable use policy or rules of behavior for using technology? Do you screen your workforce to make sure that when you're hiring somebody into your IT organization, they're not somebody that has been, in jail 19 times for, fraud and all those other things. And when you terminate people, do you actually get rid of them, within a reasonable amount of time from your systems as well? So yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. As you go through this, you'll get a scorecard at the end. That scorecard is all, your responses are emailed to you. The scorecard is available. These are good things that you can use to go to the business administrator or the board or whatever, the committee, the council within your organizations and say, this is an independent, non-biased assessment. This isn't me screaming, I need something. But these are the areas that we're strong and these are the areas that we're weak, and we may need to invest more resources in those areas that we're weak. So this is something that's online. We've already got this set up in the NJKIC portal. If you have an account there, you can simply take this for your organization, whether you're getting SLCGP grant resources or not. We've had over 300 organizations already submit this to us, and we use this not only to provide you guys with information, but where can we make the most impact as far as future investments in cybersecurity at the state level, whether it's grants or we go to the legislature and ask them for funding as well. We also use something called Security Scorecard, which is an online platform. Here I've got a number of counties that are listed. I redacted the counties, but basically Security Scorecard is going to monitor your public-facing assets and develop a report card based on, just like you got in school, whether it's A, B, C, D. And I always say this, D is not good unless you're my kids who say D is for diploma. So you get those reports, but it's not just a report that, is there. It goes across network security, goes across patching cadence. It's going to see if you've got vulnerabilities that are public facing, endpoint security, application security, and the like. As you dig into it, you can go into each one of those areas. It not only tells you in the case of patching cadence that you have 10 CVEs that are high severity, but if you were to click on those as well, it's going to tell you what those CVEs are, what the vulnerability is. And then, when, the various patches that you can implement. So it doesn't cost anything to, apply the patches. It costs some work, if you will. So this is available. Again, we've got, I think, 800 different local government organizations, state government organizations in here already. If you want access to it, it doesn't have to be part of the SLCGP. We'll provide you with access. We just need your domains. We need your IP addresses so that it provides the right information. So those are the risk areas and the governance and policy areas. I'm going to stop there. Any questions so far?
There's a question that came in on the chat. Is there a link to the policy templates?
Yeah, that'll be put up after June 9th. And June 9th is the last date of the application window. We'll get that up there. They're not up there now. We're still going through making sure that they're all done correctly and just proofing them. Any other questions?
Another one is, how do we request access to the security scorecard?
So what you can do is simply send an email to njkic@cyber.nj.gov and you'll get directions. If you're a member of the NJKIC, you'll simply set up access on our secure portal where you'll log in using a username, password, multi-factor authentication. It's a secure environment. Only you and us have access to your particular scorecard, and then only you and us have access to the CPCA as well. Right, hearing none others, I'm going to move on to projects 3 and 4. On the resilient side, we've got AEP, Advanced Endpoint Protection, or EDR, if you want to call it that. Multi-factor authentication. These are two of the biggest areas as far as risk are concerned. Remote access, privileged access, all of those different things. Web application security, and I have tabletop exercises in here as well. But workforce development, security awareness training, in-person remote training. We'll talk about some of these different projects and how we plan on going about this. So the NJKIC AEP is powered by CrowdStrike. We use CrowdStrike at the executive branch level. We've got 65,000 users in it. We've got 71 agencies, 24 departments that we're managing and monitoring. The EDR is a bunch of different modules that CrowdStrike's Falcon agent includes. It's a very lightweight agent. It doesn't take up much RAM, doesn't take up much CPU, doesn't take up much space on a hard drive either. It's that next gen antivirus, if you will. It's the EDR. Provides you with a lot of IT hygiene, what operating systems are end of life. We also have a module in here where we have 24/7 CrowdStrike Overwatch protection, which means that they're watching 24/7 and monitoring all the systems to make sure that there's no 0 days or APTs that are being launched against an organization. And if they do, they'll make the call and call us and call you if you're part of this. Vulnerability management, you want to find out how many vulnerabilities you have on an endpoint without having to scan those endpoints. They have Spotlight, which is their vulnerability management tool. So you can find every system that still hasn't been patched for something like WannaCry, all those different vulnerabilities. And the good thing about this, and we use all sorts of scanning technologies, but if you scan across the network, you have to have admin access to the servers that you want to scan. We don't need admin access to do this. Having an agent on an endpoint allows you to get that information without having to get that admin access or privileged access. If you have a policy against USB devices being plugged into your endpoints, you've got that control. And then there's all sorts of threat intelligence as well. So this is cloud-based. And it can scale to, I think New York City has over 450,000 endpoints as well. But we're using this, and it's not so much about having EDR or antivirus. It's about having people monitor it. There's a lot of organizations that have great EDR tools, and CrowdStrike's not the only one, but you don't have anybody monitoring it 24/7. And that's one of the things that we hope to solve here by using a single CrowdStrike cloud and being able to help you monitor it through the NJKIC Security Operations Center. So EDR is one of them. Web application security. This is another one. We use Imperva, which is a cloud-based web application firewall. Most organizations don't have a web application firewall, and we're seeing a lot of interest in the local governments getting behind the cloud-based web application firewall. We have over 300 websites behind it right now. Our elections websites are behind the firewall. All those different things at the state level, Treasury and the like, and it blocks whether it's bad bots or SQL injection or cross-site scripting, things that you're not necessarily going to get. And then it also does DDoS protection, account takeover protection, and a whole bunch of other protection that you can see. And I think everybody on here probably logs into the My New Jersey portal to manage their pension that they want to get when they retire from state or local government. You should see the number of attacks against your accounts on the My New Jersey portal, the account takeover accounts, how many compromised user logins are happening in a given month, and how many malicious logins and stuff. If you don't have multi-factor authentication, you can just give your pension away to somebody else because your password is not secure by itself. So, again, another advertisement for me for MFA on all your different assets, whether it's something that you're managing or something you're logging into, and it's available on the My New Jersey portal. Multi-factor authentication, I think everybody realizes this is critical for remote access and privileged access. We publish all sorts of advisories, bulletins, alerts on MFA and stats on our website. A couple of years ago, 3 years ago, actually May of 2020, we started a project where we harvest compromised credentials for New Jersey government organizations at the local and state level, including education. We also did a couple of critical infrastructure areas in the water sector is one of them. And you can see there's 44,000 or almost 45,000 notifications that we've done based on the fact that individuals have had their work credentials, or at least credentials associated with their work email addresses, compromised and posted on the dark web. Education sector leads the league by a long shot with 38,000 of them. But you can see municipal governments, almost 1,000, state government, 1,400, county government, and even law enforcement. Bad actors are going to log into systems using compromised credentials. We all, fret about, things like Colonial Pipeline, compromised credentials that were on the dark web. Why hack into a system when you can simply log into a system? And we can break this down by, all sorts of things. But each time we find it, we do notifications to the organization. We say this account has been compromised. Please notify the individual. Have him or her change their password, implement multi-factor authentication. And if need be, you may need to disable the account because that person's no longer working for you and it hasn't been disabled. So MFA, it comes as part of, whether it's Google Workspaces or, Microsoft 365. You can get it via an SMS text. You can get it through an authenticator app. And that's the most common of MFA and probably the easiest to do. However, we have a number of employees. I call them sovereign employees because they won't use their own phone for a SMS text message or put an authenticator app for work. So what we're doing is we're providing funding and buying YubiKeys so that you have a hardware token for those individuals that either have such privileged access that the hardware token is the best, or those that refuse to use their personal phone for an SMS text or an authenticator app. So that's where we're starting this year. As far as cybersecurity training, we've been providing this for quite some time, whether it's CompTIA or SANS. We have a cyber range, which is a virtual range that is great, especially for doing live fire exercises. We have subscriptions to Pluralsight. So as I mentioned before, it's not just getting a Security Plus certification from CompTIA, but how to configure Microsoft 365 or Azure. It's not as easy, but there's a lot of training that's available through Pluralsight for managing cloud environments, not just the security part of it, but the IT part of it. So what you'll see is offerings for A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, and everything and anything that has to deal with IT and cyber within the training. And of course, we have Texas A&M, the extension service. They come up here and provide us all sorts of training as well. We've got a great relationship with them. As I mentioned, the cyber range, virtual range, you can log in. There's individual video-based modules. There's individual labs that you can take. Live fire exercises. Those live fire exercises basically you set up a network and you have a red team, blue team, or you are investigating a compromise of a domain controller or an IIS, server or whatever it may be. And you get to go through a network and look for all those things. You get to use real world tools and technologies, whether it be Palo Alto firewalls, they're virtualized, obviously, Curator, SIM, all those different things, different EDR tools and the like. That's all, part and parcel of this. All right, before I get into the application, any other questions that have come in, Christina?
Yes. Does each agency get their own instance of CrowdStrike, or does it fall within the NJKIC environment? What does the architecture look like?
So the architecture looks like you get your own instance, okay? What we call is a tenant within the CrowdStrike cloud. So you get it, but we're also providing the monitoring for you. So you're going to get managed detection and response, where we're going to help you set it up. We're going to help monitor it for you. But as far as what prevention policies, that's really up to you. You'll get the alerts directly to yourself. We'll get alerts and be able to escalate them, for you. Other questions?
Yeah, we got two more. Okay. How do we request an instance, and is there a cost?
I'm going to get to the cost in just a minute. So how to request it. Did you have another one in there?
Yeah, there's a couple more here. Okay. Is the CrowdStrike the same as the MS ISAC version?
No.
Will you continue to monitor the CrowdStrike after the 5-year grant?
Yes.
Can we set up? Well, go ahead. You want to elaborate on that?
Let me go into this, and I think I can answer most of those questions. So, $3.7 million or $3.37 million the first year. And what we have to do is there's a local consent agreement that a local government organization, if they want to take part in this. So basically, if you're a local government, which is a school or a municipality or a county or an MUA, you're going to complete this, submit it. That's step one for applying for it. And you can see how we allocated the money. There's $50,000 just for the governance and planning, the policies, the .gov TLDs, all that. The $150,000 for the risk management or resilience assessments. $3 million of our 3.37 is going into that endpoint and application security and MFA. And then the last is about 180,000 for workforce development. That's the training that's out there. So somebody in your organization who is authorized to accept grants, and commit you to a grant, would have to complete this, right? So you complete that, and then you go and you fill out the application, which is the application for resources. We're going to ask you a number of different questions, about your organization, how many, domains you have, what your domains are, what your IP addresses are, how many endpoints, how many employees, all those different things. That's going to be some demographic information. Then we're going to ask about, do you have EDR currently? The idea here is $3.7 million is not enough for all public and state government organizations. So if you already have a solution, stay with the solution. If you're happy with it, it's providing you, things. There is a requirement in the notice of funding opportunity that we're not allowed to supplant, which means we can't supplant another EDR with CrowdStrike if it has the same features, okay? Like for like, that's called supplanting. We're not allowed to do that. It's going to ask you how many endpoints do you need CrowdStrike on. It asks you, we'll provide escalation information later on once this goes through. How many websites do you want behind the WAF? How many MFA tokens do you need? All those different questions are going to be asked through this. So as we go through this, right, the grants are intended to act as seed money, right? Which means they're not forever and a day. After 4 years, this money runs out. The goal is for us to help as many state and local organizations as possible. And so we've started looking at different budget projections as far as the cost share. I mentioned cost share before. There was the 10% match the first year. There's the other matches that are going on. And so we've got the different cost shares that are available there. So fiscal year 22, we know that local governments and even state government organizations, they've already got their budget set for fiscal year 22. So we're not asking for any cost share. It's free. We can get CrowdStrike with all those modules that I talked about. And somebody mentioned, is it the same as MSISAC? No, MSISAC is only giving you the EDR. It's not giving you Spotlight and Overwatch and all the different modules that we're providing, which is about 7 different modules. You only get the EDR, alerts that you've got something wrong. If you were to buy it on your own, it would cost over $100 per license. We get it at volume discount, so it's down at that $26 per license range. So, just estimating out, and this is not something that, is in stone. It's just projecting out, how do we use the best, how do we use this money the best we can? So we figure, let's say we have 65,000 endpoints that we get applications for, $26 an endpoint. That's about $1.7 million that it would cost in fiscal year 22. If you, project out that there's going to be a 3% increase per license based on inflation and those things, and I'm just making that up, the next year it's $26.78 per endpoint. What we're thinking of doing, and this is all dependent on how many organizations, how many endpoints are being asked, is the local cost share is now you guys pay 25%, which is what, $6, $7 per endpoint, and the grant pays the other $20. Same thing in 24, it now goes up to a 50-50 split. Then it's, fiscal year 25, it's 75, 25. And then, in 26, you're still getting that, but it's only at, $30 an endpoint almost, which is a lot less than I know you're probably paying today for endpoint detection or response, and you would still get the monitoring and detection. The other part of this that we're thinking of is the managed detection response that CrowdStrike provides, which means they're responding 24/7, 365. That's about double the price, up to $50 an endpoint. We've got to figure out how many applications we get and how do we make the biggest splash across the most organizations before we decide whether it's just going to be, the Overwatch or the CrowdStrike Complete or whatnot. These are just project suggestions. We're looking into this to figure out how we go about it. If only, a handful of organizations apply for, grants, we'll go with the Cadillac, programs here. But if it's a lot, then we have to say, okay, how do we provide, the best to the most organizations? So that should have answered some of those questions. But I see there's a lot more that came in. I'm going to stop sharing so I can go into the chat. And
I left off at the Michael Vaccarino's question, if you want to scroll to that one.
Can we set up privileged access to the NJKIC portal? I'd like some of the techs to have access to the trainings, but not to some of the other areas. So yeah, as far as the trainings are set up, whether it's CompTIA or SANS or, we can provide different levels of access to those. The CompTIAs are online or in person, same thing with the SANS trainings. They're online or in person, so it's only going to be those individuals that are approved. One of the things about these trainings that we've done, Mike, is we'll announce that we have, let's say, a Security Plus training or a pen test training coming up. We'll send out an announcement to the NJKIC membership, which is in the government sector, locals and state, and within an hour, they're sold out. So if you thought Taylor Swift tickets were tough to get, we have a waiting list happening, of over 100 people within 2 hours of announcing these trainings. So what we're doing with the grant is we're setting aside money just for those applicants so that when you say, I need, 5 people to get trained, we're going to get their names. They're going to the top of the list. This way, we're providing it to those that need it. We know that training, and I've seen this in the past where people just sign up for every training because it's free, and sometimes they don't even show up, and sometimes they don't need it. We're going to depend on you guys to tell us, who the people are in your organizations that actually need this, need the training, and we want to get it to them. So that's Mike's question. And then, so I'll just go back to Bob. Will you continue to monitor CrowdStrike after the 5-year grant? Yeah, and there's I don't even know where I'll be in 5 years, but I'm going to say this, Bob. Yes, we want to do that, and I'm hoping, and I can basically plan on this. I'm pretty good at predicting this, that this state and local cybersecurity grant program is not going to go away after 4 years. Just like the Homeland Security Grant Program, that was a 4-year program that was started in 2002. It's still ongoing. It's still being funded. Cybersecurity and technology is not going away. I don't see the grant going away. I see, Congress renewing it. Those are just my opinions. But I also want to go back to the state legislature and the governor's office and the treasurer and saying, hey, we got a need here. This grant is going to provide us, and the applications that we get are going to provide us with some insight into that, the risk assessments and the like. Now we've got a good business case that we can go to state government and say, hey, municipalities need help, school systems need help, and we need to start funding this. So that's where we go. Will this recording be available? I think so. You guys, GMIS, are making that available because it was recorded and I didn't curse, which is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We'll be sending that out to everybody probably within the week.
Okay, great. With CrowdStrike, who's monitoring the EDR? Both state and CrowdStrike. And I will say this, we're in the government cloud for CrowdStrike, which means everybody, in CrowdStrike is background checked. All the data stays within the United States. It's CGIS compliant, it's HIPAA compliant, it's IRS 1075, all those different things that you have to worry about as far as the regulatory issues is there. So yeah, and I will tell you that other states, New York State, Governor Hochul gave $65 million to get all the counties signed up for CrowdStrike complete. Arizona does the same thing, Maryland, Illinois. This is not anything that's unique to New Jersey. And they're providing that. And yes, MDR is something that, both state and CrowdStrike employees. If I have CrowdStrike now, can you guys help still? Yeah, Jack, and I don't know what modules you have. We probably have some that you don't. So we can apply for it. And what we can do is once we get the application's easy to fill out. And we can see from there, as you're going. All right. So we have CrowdStrike, Falcon, EDR through MSI-SAC. Can we convert to the New Jersey version? Yeah, because as I said, it's not the same Falcon agent, so it's not actually supplanting. We're providing more. You're getting Spotlight, all these other things. Yes, and Ed, you're already trying to negotiate me. It's $26 an endpoint, not $25. I see what you're doing there. Good job. If we have CrowdStrike from MSI, can we switch? That's my same question. Off Mike's question, if we have different EDR, can it be used? Really, it's going to be if it's a like for like, then it's supplanting. We have to look at. I don't know enough about SentinelOne. I know they have something called rollback. One of the things that we're providing through this is the monitoring. And that's something that you get through the NJ-KIC. You also get the Overwatch. I don't know what features and functions that you might have in SentinelOne. Apply for it. We can always figure out how to move forward with it, and that's going to as I say, apply for it. The application window is open to June 9th. All the applications have to come in. Once we get those, we're going to go back to the planning committee. So I know Lee and Bob and others on this call are part of it. And we're going to say, this one already has Sentinel-1. We're oversubscribed. We don't have enough money. Maybe not this year, but next year we could do it. Or, we only got, a handful of applications and we can fund everybody that asks. So we'll see how we go there. As I said, 80% has to go to locals and 25% has to go to the rural areas. So those are things that we have to abide by, and we will. How do we request access to the NJKIC portal? If you're a member, simply send an email to njkic@cyber.nj.gov. Just sharing for MFA perspective, coming from education space, the #1 leaked password, 88% of those are well, you say they're minors, but that's also the education space at higher education. So it's Rutgers and Keene and NJIT, and they're as bad as anybody. So as a Google first organization, we could use actionable resources for getting away from our on-prem AD deployment. Those are, so that's a great comment there, Mike. And that's something that we're thinking about for year 2. We know we have really limited funds in year 1, but we're looking for other projects in year 2. And, some of that may be Azure AD, some of that may be other AD alternatives or better management of AD, moving on-prem Exchange mail servers to Office 365 or Google or whatever it is. We have to see. And then for CrowdStrike, any IOCs the NJKIC is seeing, will they be able to update them? Yes. And it's not just the NJKIC IOCs. CrowdStrike's deployment, I mentioned some of those organizations, whether the state of Illinois, state of New York, their Overwatch team takes IOCs from their entire customer base and pours them back into the application. So you're going to get that collective defense, if you will. So those IOCs go right back into them, and that's that. So, and then a thank you. This is informative. Well, no, thanks for joining us. Any other questions that I can help with? I don't hear any, or I don't see anybody. I will say this. I've been in this job. I'm coming up on 7 years. We want to help. And it's one thing, we're now in a position to do that. We weren't previously, or else we would have overpromised and completely underdelivered and ruined our reputation. Now we've got a chance to actually do things, and we're doing it, pretty strategically. We're actually onboarding a county onto CrowdStrike this morning. We've already onboarded another county onto CrowdStrike. So we know what we're doing. We've got a lot of support from CrowdStrike and the like. But if there's anything that we can do to help, we want to. Please don't hesitate to apply for the grant. It may be you just need training. You don't need EDR. You don't need, MFA or other things. But if you do, fill it out. As I said, we tried to make this application as easy as possible. You don't need a grant writer. You just have to provide us with some different information. As far as the MFA that we're using, it looks like we're going to go with the YubiKeys. And not sure what version, whether it's the near field communication, whether it's the the fingerprint or what it is, but it's going to be the hardware tokens. Next year we're looking at, we want to do MFA, but we don't know how to set it up, and being able to provide some of those services to help those organizations set it up, because we know technology by itself isn't going to solve the problems. It's actually, the configuration, the management, the monitoring, and the response that we were talking about. And then Tom Porto, I see one last question here. Does the NJ kick off any real-time dynamic lists for bad actors targeting the NJ government? That's coming. So we do have a MISP environment, a MISP server that provides threat intel. It's something that we set up years ago for automated information sharing. And I think we had 2 organizations that signed up for it, so we didn't maintain it. But it's something that we're looking to do again, not with the SLCGP grant money, but with our own funding. Probably sometime in the fall, we'll be, launching a threat intel platform, a lot easier to use than MISP. All right, 9:55. Hopefully you're all awake and you drank coffee and this provided some information for you. Any questions, don't hesitate to reach out directly to me or send the email to the NJ Kick. As I said, we're from the government. We're here to help. It sounds trite, but that's really what we're in the business to do. So I'm going to kick it back over to Lee and Christina, and thank you again.
Great, thank you, Director Geraghty. Great information, not just about the grant, but about all the other services the KIC, provides as well. So I hope everybody found this session informative. If you want any more information about NJGMIS as well, you can reach out to us, njgmis.org or info@njgmis.org as well. This recording will be made available on our website in a couple of days, and you'll also be getting a link emailed to you as well. So we want to thank everybody for joining us and hope you have a great rest of the week. All right, thanks, everyone.